Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for attending, Dr. Newkirk and to Yiying from the media. Thank you very much, and staff and councillors. Welcome all to the May 24th council meeting, ordinary council meeting. I'll start, as customary is, to start with the acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Esperance acknowledges the Noongar and Ngadju people who are the traditional custodians of this land and their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that to other Aboriginal Australians today. I'll sit down so that we can be heard on the microphone. So again, welcome everybody and thank you very much for being here, and for those online, a very warm welcome. We'll start. The official opening's done. The attendance, we have all the councillors are in attendance except for Councillor Horan and also Councillor Mickle. Are there any other queries? No? Apologies and notifications granted of leave of absence. So that's only Councillor Horan and yep. So that's only Councillor Horan and Councillor Mickle.
If you don't mind, last council meeting we just had an issue with the approval of the leave. We didn't actually have a seconder and mover and seconder, so if we could just approve those from last council meeting, and then obviously if there is any the council want to table today, that's fine.
So that no worries. Yep.
Can I have?
Does everyone understand that? Councillor Oborne, Councillor De Haas is a second. Do you wish to speak? Proceed with the motion. Or yes. I'll take a vote. All those in favour? No worries, thank you. I will go on to item 4, which is applications for leave of absence. Do we have Councillor De Haas?
Yes, I would like to apply for a leave of absence for the 5th of June to the 13th of June inclusive, please.
Anyone else have? Councillor?
Well, I'd like to have leave of absence from the 25th of June to the 2nd of July, please.
Any further requests for leave? I would like to apply for leave from the 15th of June to the 25th of June. No, 15th to the 20th. Sorry, 15th to the 25th. Thank you. No other further. Can I ask someone that move that we approve this? Councillor Oborne, Councillor Flanagan seconded. All those in favour? Announcements by a person presiding without discussion. There is none. Declaration of members' interest. Do we have any members with declaration of financial interest?
Yes.
Sorry, Councillor.
I'd like to declare a financial interest in item 12.3.6, schedule fees and charges, as this item relates to setting of fees and charges for the Bay of Isles Leisure Centre as well. I own a gym in direct competition with that business.
Thank you, Councillor McMullen. Is there anyone else with the declaration of financial interest? Are there any declarations of proximity interest? Declaration of impartiality interest? Councillor De Haas.
I have an interest in 17.3, pre-qualified supplier panel professional services, as one of the applicants is a personal friend of mine.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, I'd like to declare an impartiality interest in item 17.8, the lease expression of Matron Quarters Museum Village. I'm just a long-term client of the co-leasee of one of the applicants.
Thank you. Is there any further declarations of impartiality interest? I'll also put in a declaration of impartiality interest in item 12.1.2, as my mother-in-law is a resident of the nursing home. Public question time. Are there any questions from the public? There are none at this time. So item 8, which is public addresses and deputations. I believe we have a public address or a deputation from Dr. Kai Newkirk. If you can come forward, please.
I hope this one works properly. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today. I stand here as a project manager at the completion of a successful project, but I stand here first and foremost as a member of the Rotary Club of Aspirants, who I believe have produced a new edition of the Aspirants District Telephone Phone Book, including a Trades and Services Index. I think it's I think it's fair to say the public will value what the club has done for them, and I'm here also to express a great thank you to council for supporting the project. I thought it would be nice to just give you a quick summary of how the book has come together, so you have an understanding of the kind of work and effort that goes into it. I think the Rotary Club is a good organisation to do this kind of thing, and we've been doing it for quite a few years. This book brought some new challenges. It's about 10 months ago that was a suggestion to the board that we should put out another iteration of the book. The last one is about 4 years old, so there's quite a few changes in that time, and it would be good to have an up-to-date version. The board came back and said, yep, no, it's something that the club should do, but they put out an extra challenge for us and said, in the past we've sold the book, but we feel it's appropriate that we make it available for free. We found a group of about 6 people who sat together and worked out a budget, a schedule, and said, yeah, we think we can do that for the club, and that's what we succeeded in doing. And the first real vision of what was going on came at the time of the agricultural show last year in October, where we went out to the public and said, we want to put out a new book, but we need your help. The book is as good as what the public tells us. They need to inform us. We changed our phone number, we changed our address, and we got a great response at the egg show. A lot of people came and told us saying these are the changes we want. For these people, you don't want to be in a phone book. This phone book is, in a way, is unique. It not only gives landlines, it gives mobile phone numbers. It includes email addresses if people want email addresses included, and websites. So it's got a lot of information there. You appreciate that don't talk to us, so we had to go out and we found some people that actually diligently went through the book and found out people no longer with us, passed away, or people that moved out of town, businesses that no longer operate in town, so they got all adjusted in the book that we put together. And then we went out to the business community here, and we found we got a great support there. It's been done in the past that we put advertising in the book, and we filled a substantial number of adverts. And we went to the tradespeople, the service people, and said, hey, this is a good way for you to advertise your wares, and we got a fantastic response there too. So we're very appreciative what there. Then came a point that we realised over the last 4 years, people have moved towards mobile phones rather than landlines. And we felt it was necessary to check all the landlines in the book, whether they were still active and being used. And again, the members of the club stepped in and we phoned each and every landline that we had in our book. And how useful did that prove to be? About 10% over 10% of the landlines were no longer in existence, and we removed all those from the book. We're now roughly in January. We have collected adverts. We have checked and seen that people are happy with the content. We used a local graphic designer and their company, Dragon, to do that for us. So again, money stays in town, being used in town. Unfortunately, we couldn't find a printer that could do that for us here, so we had to go to Perth. But we found a printer that done it all for us. And yes, we now have a new version of the phone book, and I'd like to hand that officially to the chairman and distribute copies here around the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I can only begin to imagine how much Thank you, Dr. Newkirk. I can only imagine how much work was involved in that, especially when you started ringing all the numbers that are in those lines. So. Thank you very much for that. Is there any petitions? Item 10, which is confirmation of minutes. I take it everyone's had the opportunity to read the minutes. And I have someone that's willing to move a motion that we accept the minutes. Councillor De Haas, a seconder for that. Councillor McMullen. Thank you very much for that. Is there any discussion required? I'll ask for a vote. Those in favour? Those against? 7. Thank you. Delegates' reports without discussion. We have a list up there, so we'll start off with Councillor Oborne.
Indulgence, Mr. Chair, just give you a report on 2 of the things I attended.
Briefly.
I went to the Wesley, what was it called? Life Force Suicide Prevention Training. It attracted my attention when it came through our emails because of all the youth mental health issues we have had of late especially. But I actually learned some frightening statistics that for example, the external causes of death in Australia in 2020, which was the last lot of stats, homicide was 250, road toll was 1,300, but the largest cause was suicide at 3,100, which blew my mind because I hadn't expected the figure to be that high. And shockingly, we're supposed to interpret those stats cautiously because it's actually underreported, because suicide is hard to prove and quantify. And so concerningly for us, the reason I didn't want to just table my report and the reason I wanted to bring it up is because while I went for youth mental health reasons, like I wanted to get an understanding of it, the second highest number of people at risk of suicide are actually men who live in the regions. And so that, again, was something I didn't know. And what can we do? The bottom line of my report today is we were asked for 3 things. As a Shire Council, we were asked to keep the booklet from S-Care on our front desk so that when staff get phone calls about things that isn't in their remit, they actually have a helpful number they can look through the book and refer them on. We were asked to in our Esperance Indoor Sports Stadium to let them put some information on the back of the toilet doors. You know how you get that in shopping centres. And we were asked thirdly and finally if someone from the Shire of Esperance, whether it's a councillor or someone on staff, whoever, someone that has an interest in this and is prepared to be actively involved, would sit on the Lifespan Committee, which meets once a month for 1 hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abel. Councillor Finnegan?
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Mr. President, or Acting President.
Councillor O'Donnell? Councillor Grant?
Thanks, Chairman.
Councillor De Haas?
As tabled, thank you.
As tabled, thank you.
No worries. And mine is tabled, also. Thank you very much. And thank you for that, Councillor Abel. So we'll move on to item 12, which is matters requiring determination of council. We'll start with item 12.1, which is on page 11. 12.1.1, which is a memorandum of understanding from Safe Esperance. The officer's recommendation is on page 13. Do I have anyone prepared to? Councillor Abel, prepared to move? Have a seconder for that? Councillor McMullen, do you wish to speak to your motion? Okay. Oh, sorry, can you read?
I move that the officer's recommendation that Council 1 approve the request from Safe Esperance to use the animal management facility in urgent circumstances and, point 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Safe Esperance for a 12-month term commencing on the 25th of May 2022 to be reviewed at the conclusion of the term.
Thank you. Now that she's ready, are you still happy to second that, Councillor McMullen? Thank you. Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Abel?
Yes, please. It's, as we know from the briefing, the SAFE volunteer who's brought this request to us is also an animal management facility Shire of Esperance employee, so understands the operational requirements of that building, makes a legitimate, well-informed request. I'd like to see us support volunteers who do an invaluable job. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do what SAFE does if they folded. And failing to support this motion has a reduction in animal welfare outcomes and is countercultural to our strong ethos of volunteerism. For example, last week was National Volunteer Week, so I'd like to see us continue supporting volunteers even when it's not the week to do so.
Thank you, Colin. Is there a speaker against the motion? Mr McMullen, or Councillor McMullen, as a seconder, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I think Councillor Oborne pretty much covered everything, but yeah, SAFE is a wonderful volunteer-driven organisation, and there's nil financial implications for the Shire on this one, so there's no reason to not support it. We've got an amazing animal management facility, fancy word for a pound, and this helps put it to great use.
Thank you, Colin. Is there a speaker against? Is there a further speaker for? I'll take it that you're ready to vote. Those in favour? 7-0. Thank you. Item 12.2.1, request for funding IGO COVID-19 fund. It's on item page number 22 with the officer's recommendation on page 24. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? Is anyone prepared to move a recommendation in regards to this item? Councillor Flanagan?
Mr. Chair, I move that that Council endorse a payment of $27,000 excluding GST from the IGO COVID-19 fund to the Esperance Aged Care Facility to assist with minor renovations and equipment purchase to reopen a 10-bed wing at the facility. Number 2, undertake a public advertising round to raise community awareness of funds remaining in the IGO COVID-19 fund. And 3, in the event no further applications are received, give direction to officers on expending the balance of the IGO COVID-19 fund.
Thank you, Colin. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor O'Donnell? Thank you. Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Bunning?
Thank you, Mr Acting President. Just simply to say that it's well documented that there is significant demand for beds at the Esperance Aged Care Facility. We have the process, there are community forums in relation to basically demonstrated the community acceptance of the aged care facility as a critical facility for the community. We had a presentation from the new Chief Executive Officer of the Esperance Aged Care Facility, Dr Ed Rode, who outlined steps they're taking proactively to address staff shortages at the facility. That was one of my main concerns in relation to the application for the funds, and I think the $27,000 will be well spent. Thank you.
Thank you. I will speaker against the motion. As the seconder, Councillor O'Donnell, do you wish to speak for the motion?
Only to say that the letter to us was set out quite clearly what they're going to do with this 27,000. I think it's going to be well spent for the community of Esperance.
Do I have a speaker against the motion? Or a further speaker for the motion? I take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? It's passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 12.2, which is asset management. Item 12.2.1 is Christmas lights on page 27. The recommendation on page 29. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? Do I have anyone wish to move a motion in regards? Councillor De Haas?
I would like to move the officer's recommendation that council note the update on Christmas lights in the Esperance CBD.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor McMullen? Councillor De Haas has the move of the motion. Would you like to speak for the motion?
I just think it's really great that the staff are moving on this and getting the work done that we requested earlier in the year. It's really good to see it happening. Looking forward to seeing Christmas all lit up.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against the motion? Do I have a speaker for or a seconder to wish to speak to it?
Just thanks to Mr Walker and the team for getting this all sorted. Yeah, looking forward to seeing it all lit up come early December.
All right. Do I have a speaker against the motion? Or a further speaker for the motion? No further debate. I'll take it to a vote. Any of those in favour? It's carried 7-0. Thank you. Item 12.3.1, which is the licence request from Horizon Power Electric Vehicle Charging Station, which, sorry, but I'm going to learn how to drive this thing yet, even if it drives me nuts. Thank you very much. The item starts on page 30, and the recommendation is on page 32. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? Do I have someone willing to move a motion in relation to this item? Councillor McMullen?
Yep, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council enters into a licence with Regional Power Corporation trading as Horizon Power for portion of lot 309 James Street, Esperance, subject to terms of the licence being 10 years with a 5-year option, annual rent being waived, preparation fee of $575 including GST being waived, and the disposition being advertised in accordance with section 3.58 of the Local Government Act 1995 for disposing of property.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor O'Donnell? Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor?
We've spoke about this in detail. I think it's a fantastic idea. Obviously, electric vehicles are on the rise. I mean, we all know there's hundreds of scooters running around town, but one day there'll be hundreds of Teslas and other hybrid vehicles running around, and this is just the hopefully the catalyst for many more electric vehicles and many more electric charging stations to come.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against the motion? As a seconder, do you wish to speak for the motion?
Yes, if I could please, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mr Walker for negotiating with Horizon Power for the position that you've actually arrived at, because I think there was a couple of discussions there along the way, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against the item? Or further speaker for the item? In that case, I take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? Item 12.3.2, which is the adoption of the Council Plan 2022 to 2032 on page 48. Does anyone have any questions in relation to this item? Is anyone prepared to move the motion in regards to this item?
No.
Councillor Oval, thank you. Do you wish to read it? You'll find it on page 50.
I move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 adopt the Shire of Esperance Council Plan 2022 to 2032, subject to inclusion of financial summary information as determined by the long-term financial plan, and point 2, request the Chief Executive Officer give local public notice of the reviewed plan as per the requirements of the Local Government Act 1995.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Mullen? Councillor Oborne, do you wish to speak towards?
Yes, our job is to communicate with the community, find out what they want, what their goals and aspirations are, and then try and deliver on those things for them. And I think this plan is the embodiment of that. It was informed by the Catalyse Community Perception Survey, which means the community has informed this plan. And so I'm happy to endorse it for that reason, because it's the community telling us what they want, and it's us then giving it back to them in a readable document. This is what we think you want from us, and it helps our decision making moving forward.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against? Councillor McMullen, do you wish to speak to it as a seconder?
Yeah, just to thank the staff for all the hard work that went into this, and Catalyse as well. I know I went to a couple of the workshops and actually had a blast there, and it was good to see such a great turnout from the local community members, and I think it is a huge plus that we've finally merged the corporate business plan and the I forgot its name, and the strategic community. You know, now we've just got one big guiding booklet that informs how the Shire moves forward. I think it's fantastic for us as a council and makes it a lot easier for all the ratepayers and residents in Esperance just to be better across what we're doing as a council.
Thank you kindly. Is there a speaker against the motion? Or a further speaker for the motion? If there's no further debate, I take it to ready to vote. Those in favour? 7-0, thank you. I should note that needed an absolute majority, but with the 7 of us here, we still have the ability to get an absolute majority. Item 12.3.3, which is the annual review of the Delegated Authority Register 2022 to 2023. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? Do I have anyone that wishes to make a motion? Yes, Councillor Flanagan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Acting President. I move the officer's recommendation that Council endorses the proposed Delegated Authority Register 2022/23, Council to Chief Executive Officer and authorised persons.
Yeah, do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Das, you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Flanagan?
Oh, with pleasure, Mr. Acting President. It's, just tidying up and administrative clarity in relation to delegated authority, something very close to my heart, and I think it's great to see that we're doing that work. But the other interesting thing is that it removes an unnecessary delegation for the CEO under the Fines Enforcement Registry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against? As a seconder, do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Hayes?
I couldn't say it more eloquently than Councillor Flanagan.
Thank you kindly. Do I have a speaker against or a further speaker for? In that case, I take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? Thank you. That's 7-0. Again, that required an absolute majority, as it's to do with delegation, and as such achieved. Thank you. Item 12.3.4, which is the vacant land for sale by tender. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this? Do I have anyone who's prepared to move a motion in regards to this? Councillor McMullen.
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 direct the CEO to advertise all unsold lots as detailed below at point 3, excluding any lots that are under contract at the time the tender is advertised for sale by tender. 2, confirm it believes that the valuations previously received from Option Property Group for the Hockey Place lots in February 2017 and Heron Todd White in Esperance for the Flinders Stage 2 lots in February 2020, Voyle Lane property in May 2021 and Shark Lake Industrial Park properties in June 2021 continue to be a true indication of the value of these lots. And 3, relist all lots that don't receive an offer through the tender process at the following prices as tabled. And 4, delegate authority to the CEO to negotiate and accept offers on these listed properties at or above minimum acceptable sale prices identified in the schedule within attachments 1.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor O'Donnell, do you wish to speak to you?
Yeah, this is merely procedural. These lots of land have been for sale for some time. Discussions with local real estate agents assume that the market conditions are relatively similar. No further valuations are required. This is just keeping the properties on the market in the hope that they'll move one day.
Thank you kindly. Do I have a speaker against the motion? As a seconder, do you wish to speak to a motion, Councillor? No. Have a further speaker against or a speaker for? Take it there's no further discussion. I'll put it to a vote. Those in favour? Passed 7-0. Again, an absolute majority. Thank you. Item 12.3.5, Cultural Protocol Policy Amendment. It's on page 92. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? Do I have anyone that's wishing to move? Councillor Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. I move the officer's recommendation that Council adopt the reviewed protocol policy. I move the officer's recommendation that the Council adopt the reviewed cultural protocols policy inclusive of amendments, inclusions and deletions.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor McMullen. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Acting President. I move the motion as a member of the working group, the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group. There was much consultation with First Nations people in relation to that. I think it's extraordinarily important that we actually ensure that our acknowledgement is actually consistent with the requirements of the First Nations people, and is actually a sincere and genuine acknowledgement of country by Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tony. Do anyone speak against the motion? Councillor McMullen, as a seconder, do you wish to speak for the motion?
I echo Councillor Flanagan's comments and just note that it's great that we are actively working with our local First Nations people collaboratively.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against the motion or a further speaker for the motion? Take it you're ready to vote. Ask those in favour. 7-0. Thank you. Schedule fees and charges. Financial. Thank you, Councillor McMullen. This is on page 100, item 12.3.6. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? Must be something about sitting in this chair. No worries. If there's no questions, do I have someone that's prepared to move a motion in regards to this motion? Councillor O'Donnell?
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council endorse the attached draft schedule of fees and charges to be included within the 2022-2023 budget adoption.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor De Haas? Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor O'Donnell?
I say that we had a good briefing on this, and I guess we've come to consensus that these are the fees and charges that that will be included in the adoption, budget adoption.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against? Do you wish to speak for the motion, Councillor De Haas?
Nothing to add, thank you, Chair.
No worries. Do I have a further speaker against or for the motion? So, Councillor.
I need to note that, council tries to provide services in line with what the community expects, and we don't do it to make money, we do it to provide a service, and so these fees and charges are reflective of what it costs us to provide those services in line with CPI.
Thank you, Don. Do I have a speaker against or a further speaker for the item? No further comment. Are you ready to vote? Those in favour? 6-0, we're getting there. Yes. Thank you, Councillor Graham. Item 12.3.7 on page 101, airport cropping licence area amendment request. Do I have anyone with any questions in regards to this item? Do I have anyone prepared to move the motion? Councillor Graham?
My turn. Yeah, look, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council amend the licence area for the airport cropping licence to Peter and Sharon Stevens for portion 15 Coolgardie Esperance Highway Gibson for a further 4.6 hectares subject to at least one lease variation of $220 including GST being payable. Annual rate increased to $2,115.54 including GST, subject to scheduled rent reviews, and 3, the associated costs required to prepare the additional area for cropping to be the responsibility of the licensee.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Flanagan, thank you. Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Graham?
Yeah, obviously the Stevens family have been operating the lease for quite a number of years, and this is an opportunity of cleaning a rehab gravel pit and turn it into usable country, and obviously clean and neat around our airport area. So thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against the motion? Councillor Flanagan, do you wish to speak for the motion?
Nothing further, thank you, Mr. Acting President.
A speaker against the motion or a further speaker for the motion? I take it you're ready to vote. Put it to the vote. Those in favour? It's carried 7-0. Thank you. Item 12.3.8 on item 106, which is the financial services report. Does anyone have any questions in regards to the report? Nobody has any questions. Do I have anyone that's prepared to move a motion in regards to the item?
Oh, sorry, did you
Councillor O'Donnell?
Sorry. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council receive the attached report entitled Monthly Financial Management Report, incorporating the statement of financial activity for the month of April 2022.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor McMullen, do you wish to speak to the
No,
item?
thank you.
Do I have a speaker against the item? Councillor McMullen, do you wish to speak towards the item?
No, thank you.
Is there any further speakers against for the item? In that case, I take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? Pass 7 now. Thank you. Item 12.4, Executive Services. So item 12.4.1, the information bulletin on page 156. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? I'll just wait for the minute secretary to catch up. Nobody has any questions? Do I have anyone prepared to move a motion in regards to this item? Councillor Flanagan?
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. I move the officer's recommendation that Council accepts number 1, the information bulletin, April 2022. Number 2, corporate performance, April 2022. Number 3, delegations discharge, corporate resources. Number 4, letter from the Minister for Disability Services, Fisheries, Small Business, Seniors and Ageing.
Thank you. Do I have a second for Councillor McMullen? Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Flanagan?
Only again to just emphasise the level of detail and information that's provided in this report. As a councillor, and I imagine all councillors, there's actually a bit of a highlight of the agenda, because, just in terms of the information and just the ability to track where we are in terms of the resolutions that have been passed. Yeah, that's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against? Councillor McMullen, do you wish to speak for it? Is it?
Just briefly, I just wanted to highlight the letter that we received from the Minister for Disability Services, Fisheries, Small Business, Seniors and Ageing, the Honourable Don Punch, MLA, just noting his last paragraph of the letter. And I quote, "Thank you once again for writing to me about this important matter. I look forward to the opportunity of meeting with the Esperance Shire Council and the Esperance Ocean Safety and Support Group soon." So I just wanted to table that and get it out there in the open, and I look forward to seeing the Minister down here in Esperance soon.
Thank you kindly. Do I have a speaker against? Speaker for the motion? No further speakers. Take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? It's passed 7 0. Thank you. Item 13, reports of committees. There is none. No. Motions of which notice has been given. Item 14. There is none. Item 15, which is members' questions with or without notice. Are there any members' questions with or without notice? Yeah. Item 16, which is urgent business approved by decision. There is none. Item 17 is matters behind closed doors, but for the benefit of the public, I will bring item 18 up to the front. Question time, is there any questions? No worries. I thank you very much for your attendance, and I just need a motion for someone to go behind closed doors. Councillor McMullen, and seconded by Councillor Graham. Those in favour? 7 0. Thank you. Let's proceed from motion. Nobody other? No worries, thank you very much. There are no public re-entering the room, but for those that are online and watching, there was a number of items that we covered behind closed doors. So in regards to the first 7 items, which are the pre-qualified supplier panels, we approved the officer's recommendation on those. Those will be available during the minutes. They appoint or approve certain suppliers of products and services to the Shire, so that when there's a job that requires doing, they have pre-approved personnel and businesses that can supply those. In regards to item 17.8, the lease expressions of interest of the Old Matrons Quarters, it was agreed that we would surrender the lease from Stevie Lawrence for the old courthouse museum in Dempster Street and enter into a new lease with Stevie Lawrence for the Old Matrons Quarters in the museum village. So that's just a simple transfer from one building to another. Item 17.9, which is Flinders Estate subdivision contract. Council resolved to award the request for tender for the Flinders Estate Stage 4 subdivision construction to Sign Building Co. as per the lump sum price, and allocate the funds required in the 2022 and 23 budget towards the project. Item, where are we at? 1710, sorry, I lost my spot. Item 1710, which was the desludging of Myra liquid anaerobic ponds. Council resolved to accept the request for quote for the desludging of Myra liquid anaerobic ponds from Dredging Solutions Proprietary Limited as per the lump sum price, and approve the budget variation as per the table that was supplied in regards to have that process completed. Item 1711 was the Myra Waste Transfer Station detailed design development. Council agreed to award the request for tender for the Myra Waste Transfer Station detailed design development to Talus Consultants Proprietary Limited per the lump sum price, and approve the budget variation in regards to getting that role completed. Item 17.12 was the sale of the blue gum trees. Council resolved to award the request for the tender for the sale of the blue gum trees to Southern Pacific Fibre as per the offer received. Delegate the CEO to enter into a tree purchase agreement with Southern Pacific Fibre as per the offer received, and approve the budget variation as per the following table. Item 17.3, which is the updated offer for head tax agreement, Regional Express. Council resolved to accept the Regional Express, accept the offer, the updated offer from Regional Express Airline to enter into a fixed revenue agreement with the Shire for all inbound and outbound flights to Esperance Airport, and authorise the CEO to enter into and sign a community fare agreement with Rex for the period 30th of June 2022 to the 30th of June 2025, subject to Rex committing to continue the community fare at its current rate of $139. Set the initial head tax payable at 1.128 million exclusive of GST, plus cumulative CPI increases for each subsequent financial year of the agreement, and inform Rex that should the community fare be discounted for any reason, the head tax as per the fees and charges relevant at the time will be payable per passenger. With that, I can, and there's nothing further, I will now conclude the meeting at 5:10. Thank you very much.